Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
What time is it?
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Now Myers to win the league, yes!
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Werewolves of London.
Well, hello and welcome to the Below the Rim show, a show dedicated to the BBL. It's me, Pabs. I'm joined by the brave-hearted Mr. Grant Young, off the back of what we're going to label as upset weekend. How are you, sir?
Yeah, really good, thank you. That's us 3 wins in the bounce. My podcast has been busy the last week or so too, so yeah, buzzing.
Good man, good man. And Ads is going to join us later on. He's got under 16 Mystics training. He's a dedicated boy. He was with GB squad all weekend doing the ladies GB coverage, and a great effort by them as well. The big win against Portugal, but in his place and in replacing Nicholson this week as well, we are joined by BBL royalty, His Highness himself, Mr. Ant Rowe. How are you, sir?
Good evening, Paz. Thanks for the warm introduction, mate. Happy to be here with the Below the Rim boys.
Good man. Are you going to give us your insights and well, I'd say insider knowledge, but we'd settle for your opinion. That's good. That's good enough for us.
You guys are wiser than me. I tune in every week to listen to the information. It's the wrong way around.
Well, we've got a fair bit to get through this evening. We're going to obviously talk about, we're recording this Monday night, and obviously earlier today the Ovie Soko news dropped, so we'll have a little chat about that. We'll talk about the trophy roundup, the weekend, the upset weekend, as we're calling it. One or two things were discussed on the Sunday Night Breakdown podcast regarding the Lions and a kind of conspiracy theory, which is very NBA. It's very frozen envelope kind of stuff. So we'll maybe dive into that a little bit. I mean, to be honest, there's so much roundup stuff to get through. We probably might not get to the last thing, which is the kind of professionalism on Twitter that's not evident at the moment a great deal. BTR 5, of course, 5 of your favourite players from the weekend. Doesn't have to be stat-based, doesn't have to be on a winning team, just a player you saw that ticked all the boxes for you, and obviously predictions as well. Grant's looking smug because I've mentioned predictions, and he's done very well again this week, I think.
I'm flying with. But it's also, and see with you coming on tonight, we're actually recording at a sensible hour. We normally don't start for another 2 hours.
Oh, appreciate this, because this is close to my bedtime already, so no, thank you for accommodating this old man.
Old man? I doubt you're the oldest one on the podcast, are you?
Baby face of Grant, put us all to shame.
Oh, thanks.
Bless him. Let's kick things off with the trophy. Let's get through what happened in the trophy. Obviously, there was a league game. Was there one or two? Let me just scroll up quick. There was only one. It was the Lions, obviously, destroying Cheshire Phoenix, almost kind of proving a point after the trophy loss to the Gladiators. Should we start with that one? Because we can always circle back to that when we talk about the Sunday Night Breakdown guys and what they were discussing. It was a funny old game, wasn't it, Grant?
And it was also, well, you're talking about the league game, Cheshire were obviously...
No, I'm talking about Gladiators 52, London Lions 50.
I'm so glad. Originally, I was going to miss this game because of a work event, and I'm so glad I was able to get to this game. Because you know what? Put aside the score, put aside the politics and all the other things, and look at it as a game 52-50. What a nail-biter. Honestly, that's the loudest Emirates had been this season, because everyone got into that game. Everyone understood it was a cup competition. Everyone understood that, obviously, London are pretty darn good, regardless of who they put out. I don't think... I've seen people say about London having like their fifth-string guard in. I wish I was London's fifth-string guard, because I'm still getting paid a fair whack. But the noise and the atmosphere on Friday night, regardless of the offensiveness of the game, was brilliant. I think defensively, both teams put on a decent performance. Johnny Bunyan probably had his defensive game of his life. And I don't know if you've heard my post-game interviews I did with some of the guys. They were really disappointed that how they played offensively. Gareth said the same thing. They didn't play really well. But we still eked out a victory against the best team in the country, regardless of who's on the court. Those, if you're saying maybe their 12th to 16th guy, would still walk into most starting fives in the league.
Of course. And my man, did you catch the game?
I did, yeah. I had to watch it back, and it was crazy because it was one of those ones. I was actually at a work event, and I've got my stat. You go to the bathroom to get some privacy. I'm looking at my live stats in the bathroom. I'm like, this isn't refreshing. This is not refreshing. I'm like 52, 50. There's something wrong. So I'm genuinely thinking there's something wrong with my phone. And it wasn't until the next day where I watched it, and it was one of those slugfests. And I don't think Caledonia played particularly well, but their effort was incredible. Like you could tell that they had more individuals on their team that understood the severity of the game. And for me, it was one of the new guys that doesn't know a lot about the history that I thought was incredible. Al Durham, but I think the X factor for me was Gareth Murray. I thought that he was just the way that he was just able to read the game. And when you play games like that too, when it's 52-50, every single decision is that much more crucial. It's a one-basket game anyway. And, if you have runs in a game like that, of a 6-run, that could mentally demoralize the opposition and it's game over. So I really like how Gareth was able to adapt as well. And he wasn't afraid to try things as well during the game, even finishing the game too with a larger lineup. He identified mismatches down there, and it didn't seem to hurt them on the other end of the floor either. But no, I thought Gareth Murray was excellent in that game. And again, he had enough guys. Bunyan will be one of the guys I love watching anyway. He just finds a way to get it done. Boy, he's not gifted athletically, or he's not gifted with a Greek god's body either. But boy, does he effective! It's unreal.
Absolutely.
It was funny because I spoke to him, and obviously I recorded with him, and then I obviously speaking to him out with that recording, and he was like, defensively, that's one of my best games, but I was 0 from 5. He was like, I had 4 open looks from 3 and I've missed them all. When would Johnny Bunyan's one of the best shooters in this league from behind the 3? You just had like 0 from 4.
0 from 3.
That can happen as well. Like, I remember as a player, some of the games where I knew we had to lock down defensively, it has a negative effect on your jump shot. The finer like muscles or the finer skills, it's like you're too amped up sometimes, and you even free throws too. I remember struggling to shoot free throws sometimes when in a high intense defensive game, and as a spectator too, you're like, oh, why don't you hold teams to 60 points and why don't you score 100 points? Like, oh, brilliant idea. And it's really hard to do that for that simple fact of
the game did feel almost like an international game where defenses were on top. Both teams were using the shot clock to try and get some good offense down the end. And I suppose you just nailed it, I think. And when you say like Gareth made the big call by going big with Farrell and Tappy at the end, and just to shut down the middle, because that's where nobody could buy a shot from the outside. So he closed up the middle, and actually Tappy's pretty athletic. We talk about him most weeks in the show now because he's developing into such a strong BBL player. Whereas maybe early in the season he struggled to rules, referees, the usual struggle for a big man, a young big man in the
new
BBL
player in the league as well.
But when you look at his stats, he only got 6 points, and 5 rebounds, and
2 of those points were incredibly key, though, weren't they? Right towards the end of the game.
That 2 point, that wee flick off by Jeremiah Bailey into Tappy for the kind of reverse layup dunk or whatever it was kind of not the icing on the cake, but kind of gave that momentum in the last minute or so. But
I've got to say, in terms of the 3-point shooting, I know, like we say, Johnny Bunyan had a few wide open threes. They were never that wide open. And one thing that you see this Lions team do really well is chase teams off the 3-point line. They are consistently. I can only go by what I've seen. And I'll be honest, I don't watch them a great deal because you kind of know what the score is going to be. They play nice basketball. For a quarter, I'm fine, and then I'm switching over to something else, trying to find a game that's closer. But generally speaking, teams are shooting not great numbers against them from 3. They just have a lot of length, a lot of range. But I really liked your post game with Gareth Murray. I liked, and I totally agreed with him as well, when he said we should have put them away a bit earlier. Because there was a spell of play in there. I think there was a spell in the third quarter where you kept getting the stops. And it wasn't like they were missed shots by the Lions. You were getting the stops and not turning it into a basket at the other end. And all the while that's happening, you're thinking, this is going to run out at some point. They're going to punish you at some point. The Lions are going to punish you. And they just never did. They never did. Raban only played
as well.
Yeah, well, exactly. Raban only played not even 12 minutes. Sharma, they went to the bench very early and didn't really feature again. Luke Nelson as well. So he really gave the young guys a big long shout. But to be fair, Solowadi, I mean, he was 0 from 1 from 3, but he was like at Plymouth, he was 5 from 6, I think, from 3. Like they shut him down well because he's effective from the outside. Josh Wood-Hibbert did what he does. I like Josh Wood-Hibbert. I'm a big fan. I think he's massively underrated. 14 points, 8 rebounds.
I spoke to him briefly or just passing after the game. Didn't record with him. And that guy, okay, he's saying 34 minutes. That full 35 minutes where everyone say he was on the court. That guy played his socks off. He plays hard every time he's on the court. Like, he is what you'd say, the stereotypical British guy who'll do the job the coach tells him to do. And he deserves to be earning all the minutes he's getting, regardless of if he's coming on, starting or coming off the bench. Like, I think he's been brilliant for London.
But I agree. He was great when he was at Leicester as well. He was one of those guys. Teammates spoke very highly of him as well. One of my good friends, Tyler Bernardini, if you guys remember him, and he used to say that Josh Wood-Hibbert was one of those guys, competitors in practice, one of those guys that you'd want on your team when you were going 5-on-5 in practice. He was just really unfortunate with injuries. He's had a lot of injuries. You know, whenever he'd get a little stretch to break
Did he miss
through,
a full season?
Close to, yeah.
He had a bad injury.
I don't think he ever went a whole. You know, he hasn't won a whole season without missing games.
Because he's not the youngest of guys now. Because obviously we've talked before about he kind of came into the pro game a little bit later in this country. But what a guy who's kind of proved that how good he can be. Like in this season, last season of London, you saw flashes of it. You guys did in Leicester. Like I think he's brilliant. And what he can do in the defensive end as well is probably underrated.
Yeah.
He's a big guy as well. That makes a difference. You can play multi-positions in this league when you're that big. You can guard 1 through 5 pretty much. But other things
I think that's what hurts him sometimes. He doesn't have a position. He doesn't have he's just a baller. Just put him out and just figure it out. He doesn't have a defined position. I think that can hurt him as well because people are like, so where do we slot him in? He's just a hooper.
So Glad's fast breaks, 17 fast break points. Lions only 4, and they're a team that likes to get into transition. They never led by more than 5, the Lions either. Gladiators went up by 8 at one point. And, I mean, no matter what happens the rest of the season, you can say that consistently for 2 quarters you kept, well, for 1 quarter you kept the Lions below double figures, just 9 points. And the quarter after that was just 10. So, I mean, I know when you look at it retrospectively, Gladiators didn't necessarily score a great deal going forwards as well, but, you know, it's something to shut down the Lions like that. But Durham, I didn't think they had an answer for him. He looked like he was going to drive every time he got his hands on the ball. He looked absolutely exhausted as well.
You should have seen him leave the court after the game. I've never seen a guy look so broken.
Oh, his
legs had plasters on them. Sweat was pouring out of everywhere. The guy, what did he play? 32 minutes. Like, he played hard for 32 minutes. Like, that guy was a wreck. If we'd had another game during the weekend, I don't think he would have made it.
And the one thing no one can say, Grant, is that you're jumping on the bandwagon because your prediction last week was the Gladiators would win.
I say Gladiators are going to win every week, though, don't I?
Yeah, well, you don't say that. Don't say that bit. Leave that bit off. I'll cut that out. No, I can't be bothered. We'll circle back to that and see what we think of the conspiracy theories and exciting. It's a good narrative. I quite like it. Let's move on to the next biggest upset, I think you could call it. I think I'm doing this in the right order. I'm not sure where maybe we'll talk about that, where we place the kind of upsets and how they sit and rank them, as it were, 1 to 3. But the Sheffield Sharks, which I'm just going to check on our predictions. Yeah, no one thought this was going to happen. Sharks managed to hold on in incredibly tight circumstances to win by just the 1 point it was in the end. Was it 79-78? No, there was no Patrick Whelan in that game. Am I right in saying that? Because he was
Patrick
listed,
Whelan.
but he didn't play, did he? That's right.
Toe injury.
Oh, is it?
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Looking forward, because obviously he is a key. Him and Mark Loving are probably the key, and probably Jackson are the heart and soul of that team. And I mean, his absence was enough for the Sharks just to edge it. Bennett Cook having a great game, 21 index, 18 points, 6 rebounds, block in there? No, 2 steals, not a block. I mean, no one saw this coming. What did we make of it? Because I switched over to this after watching the end of the Lions one, and I was like, and I wound it back, not knowing what the score was. So I thought, I'll watch the last 5 minutes. There's no way the Riders are blowing this, and it kind of unfolded in a strange. It was surreal. I thought, and my man, let's go to you first. Former Leicester Rider, of course. What did you make of it?
I was in the same mindset as you. Really, it was weird because I knew the score. I watched it back on Saturday, and it was. Patrick Whelan is that good. He really is. I think sometimes he doesn't get enough plaudits just because he's not a guy that's going to windmill dunk on the fast break, or he's not overly flashy in what he does. But boy, is he productive. Both ends of the floor as well. Very good defender. Very good defender. So you take him out of the equation, and it definitely. Would I have predicted it pre-game though? No, I wouldn't have. I still would have thought that Leicester would have had enough, even though Patrick Whelan's one of the best players in the league, in my opinion. But I still think they would have had enough at the Morningside Arena. Yeah. And Sheffield Sharks, they're like kind of bipolar to me. I watch them sometimes and think, oh no, you're in trouble. Like you're done. Like the team is going to have to sort of just ride out this season here and figure it out next year, and then. They do this. They're so hard to call. I thought when they had that new insurgent there of Ramsey and their big Flowers, I think he's going to struggle unless he turns things around very quickly. But the Ramsey guy, athletic, quick, and you think, okay, well that's the new lease of life that they lose, and then they need it. Then they go and lose to Newcastle, and they don't really make to push to turn the fortunes around. So I thought they were dead, and then they do this. It's just, and Rodney Glasgow's been. I hate to say it, but he has been, below par based on his standards of last year, and not just shooting the ball as well, like just everything. He hasn't been the same guy as what he was last year, which I felt that's hurt them, including Routinho. Respectfully, I think those two guys were really good last year, and they just haven't been the impact that the Sharks have needed throughout the course of the time, but. Yeah, they went to Bennett Cook early, which they've done a lot of the times. But Bennett Cook just said, "Look, I'm going to take responsibility here. I'm going to take us to put us in an opportunity to win the game." And he was pretty sustainable throughout. To be fair, he was really good. Yeah, they put Menzies on him. Menzies couldn't really figure him out, and same with Nelson Henry. So no, Bennett Cook definitely was their rock. That I think Sharks sometimes go for these droughts, don't they? And they don't have that consistent stream of offense, and they got that through Bennett Cook this time, which I think settled everyone else down.
Kipper Nichols seems to be a bit of an X factor for them in terms of. I mean, obviously he is because he's a great player. But if he can play well and string together he's 19 points on the game. If he can get his scoring going and his shot going, they really are a weapon. But like you say, I really like Rodney Glasgow. He brings them a lot on defense, but he's not the like you say, he's not the offensive threat he was previously. Exactly the same as Routinho. Like.
With regards to Kipper Nichols, sorry, Pabs. With regards to Kipper Nichols as well, you don't bring back people by accident, right? You make a conscious decision to bring them back. So that tells me that he's shown something to his coach every single day in practice and glimpses of excellence, which we see on court. And I think he's improved. He's a year 3 BBL player now, and he is improved. And sometimes people we want a bit more from him, but this is a prime example of where he's displayed his talents and he's done enough for his team.
Grant, my man.
We speak about Kipper all the time in this show, being like, we just want him to be the guy for Sheffield, like to be the man. He's, again, a guy that can play the 2, the 3, the 4. He's had a good game against Leicester. It's probably contributed him to winning that game. Sheffield have scored more points than they've scored all season, probably. And that's no, and there's, and we talk about how Sheffield play all the time. But when Kipper's playing like that, he's brilliant. I'm just looking at his season stats. His stats are solid, but then when you scroll over and see his points, he's less than 13 points a game. Like, he should be almost 20 points a night.
Yeah,
like, he's that good, and he should be in that Sheffield's team their top scorer, which I wouldn't be surprised if he actually is. It's side Nelson, but when you put Nelson, and then the new boy Ramsey, who's lightning, Kipper should be still, in my opinion, the main man in that team. Shooting near enough 50% from the field, 30% from 3, over 80% from the 3-throw line. Like, I just want more from him all the time. I watched that game back, and the thing I found interesting was obviously without Pat Whelan, you saw a lot of Bowman played quite a lot, Walsh played more. Like, those guys probably contributed a lot of those kind of spare minutes alongside kind of Connor. But Mackenzie's having to play a lot of games, man, a lot of minutes. And is that he should be coming off the bench, 6th, 7th man. So that's where I think we've said that before in here on kind of Leicester struggles. Maybe if Love's now settled in the rotation, that would maybe have been different, and Kimball would have been coming off the bench for that game if Pat Whelan was fit. But like you said, I probably still would have thought they would have had enough. The bench has kind of contributed. Menzies probably is 6 points, 11 minutes. But Bennett was good to start with. They just went, as you said, straight in on him. I think it was the first four offenses went through Bennett, and that's hard to stop. When he gets going, he did the same in Glasgow a week or so ago, and like we went 7-8 points up early, and that was a game. But to come back into the game, they just went in Bennett Cook all the time, and he gets offense. Like, he's pretty much up. Surprised me of how good he's been this season, because we were getting, is he third year again?
Yep.
So he's third year, and he
didn't start that well, did he? Didn't start that well, but he's really turned it around.
Since Christmas, he's been brilliant, to be honest, to give him that. So, I actually thought as well the last 2 minutes of this game was so messy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was really messy. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what kind of happens for Sheffield from now on the rest of the season. Leicester now just have to concentrate on trying to finish second, I suppose.
Well, I hope for them that Whelan comes back, because looking at their statistics, they've got 3 guys, Zach Jackson, Mark Lovin and Patrick Whelan, who score 15 points a game, essentially, in and around 15, just over. And then you look beyond that, I mean, Thornton's on that list, he's not there anymore. Mo Walker's injured. You got to go down to Kimball Mackenzie, who's not even in double figures. Darren Nelson-Henry, Menzies, Washington, they're all less than 9, basically. And they needed someone to step up and pick up those 15 points. And obviously they didn't have that on the night. But moving forward, it's got to be a little bit of a concern for him. And like you say, he brings them a world of difference defensively. He's a tremendous defender. But they've got to find somewhere to pick up those 15 points. Nelson-Henry didn't score on the night. So had he had a better offensive, obviously 9 rebounds, nothing to be sniffed at, but if he has a slightly better offensive game, they win that game.
He's going for a really difficult period. Darren Nelson-Henry, I've seen him play the last 2, or we've all seen him play the last 2 years, and again, a guy that goes under the radar, but his statistics are incredible. What he does in 21, 22 minutes of basketball is unbelievable, and this year he just hasn't been able to maintain that same level of
and we saw in the cup final how good he was that fourth quarter.
Yep.
That fourth quarter, he was the one that was getting them the offense and getting the stops. So hopefully he can kind of push on. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to say.
No, you're right. It's valid. I mean, he shows glimpses of it as well, because he's been doing it for the last 2 years in this league, and I think Connor Washington's a big X factor as well. He is the guy that you said, Pabs, about getting you the extra 15 points. Connor Washington is not shy to make big plays, big shots. He's been doing it ever since he's in his early 20s, and he's had significant injuries this year, back problems, etc. So these are injuries that it takes a little bit more than deep heat to shake it off. So that's had a knock-on effect, I think, on the Riders. And I've just mentioned about his offensive talents. Defensively, he is a dog. You could put him on the opposing guard. He will pick them up full court press the whole game, and they don't have that weapon, which I think is a massive loss to Riders. What they do have, and I think this is where the magnifying glass is going to be now on the Riders, is Carrington Love. So he's their import player. Is it take 4 now? 4 after Gino?
Four if you include Gino. 4 if you include Gino.
They need him to be an import, guard and
a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that's the type of game that you know when you've got your guys who put the big boy pants on and just figure it out. And that's where now going forward. Carrington Love could be that guy for them. Maybe it's come too early for him in his Riders career, that game. I'm not sure, but if I think their season goes as well as he goes, I don't think they've got. They're not. This isn't the deepest Riders team we've seen over the last few years. So they need their pieces to be able to contribute big.
I feel sorry for him to a degree because part of that's down to injury. Like you got Mo Walker there out. He makes a huge difference to that team if he's and then of course the Bandu, the lad who came in and we never got to see him really play. He looked like his CV was exciting to say the least. Let's we've got a couple of minutes left. Let's go and come back and we'll talk Trailblazers Patriots, the last of the upsets, and conspiracies. All right. See you in a sec. Let's turn our attention to the last of the upsets. We'll rank them in a minute. We'll get the fellas to rank what order they think the upsets should fall in. Plymouth City Patriots at home took on the Derby Trailblazers. Went down early on and never came back, to be honest with you. That's that then. Should we move on? But the Giant Killers, who did it last season against Surrey Scorchers, have done it this season against the Patriots. Convincing win, won by 10 points in the end. They were up by as many as 16. I think I've just got to check that. Yeah, biggest lead 16, 24 fast break points. They had a set game plan. They went with it, and Patriots didn't have an answer. Grant, my man, you were laughing all the way through it, asking us where's Derby for the semi-final, and you were right.
It's still a pain in the ass to get to Derby. What if I could fly to Exeter and then hire a car?
Well, they think they're coming to you.
Hey, that's even better. But it should be an away day, so that'll happen. If they want to come to me, they can come up to here. That's brilliant, but it's not. I think this is one of their games where, Plymouth have not had the best of times recently. We talked about it most weeks. Derby have come in with a game plan through, I think it was Smith and Brueggemann, and obviously BBL talent and May Thompson. And then Dietrich as well. He's done jobs before. We've seen him in top NBL. This wasn't just a middle of the road average team. This Derby team's legit good. And the guy Smith, 36 points. Every time he caught the ball, he shot it.
He did, yeah.
Every time he just thought, wherever I am, I'm jumping and I'm shooting. If I'm under the basket, I'm dunking it. If I'm 3 foot, I'll put it off the backboard. This guy just had one of those games. I think he did a lot. Look at his stat line. He shot 22 shots, made 12, 1 from 3, 9 from 9 free throws, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, 3 blocks. You've got people who, and in games like this, we talk about cup games. For these guys, this is a one. Look at, we talk about in Lions and everyone playing their best to play against Lions. This is the exact same situation for Derby. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. You're playing Plymouth, who are going through a bit of an up and down period. This was always in the cards. Let's be honest. And the way Derby started that game was insane. You've got, even to remain 10 points down, you've got Dusha having his best game probably since December time. Yeah. You've got Hassan, who's been the best player for about 3-4 weeks. You've got McKedrick Bell off the bench getting 11. And okay, you're looking at other players and where's the rest? But you've got 2 guys combined for 50 points and you've lost a game. It's one of these games where Derby have done everything right and it's worked for them. And Plymouth, other than the start, didn't actually do it that bad.
Fair. Mr. Rosa, former Plymouth Raider, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a little bit more critical on Plymouth, but I couldn't praise Derby enough.
Yeah.
I think
Brilliant.
Grant's hit the nail on the head with that. The way they came in there, and as soon as tip-off was, they were so much brighter, positive as well. Everything was a positive. Their mentality, their movement. They looked so hungry as well, and they did it as a team. They were fine with going to Malcolm Smith. He was like their target man striker. We'll cross the ball into him and figure out the rest. And they went to him. They went to him early, and he was efficient with it as well, which was great. I played with Raheem May Thompson at Leicester, and played with Jonas Dietrich at Leicester and Loughborough as well. So he's actually we were on the first Bucks winning championship team at Loughborough University together, and he was great teammate, such a smart basketball player, good shooter as well. He was great. So you've got the pieces there. Do you think that they could compete every week in a BBL? I don't think so. I don't think they're deep enough, but Brigham for me, goodness me, that man was possessed. He was incredible. His decision making was great, and if the ball was ever anywhere near him, he would just try and steal it.
He was phenomenal.
It was like on a video game where you just keep tapping the steal button.
He only had 2 fouls. He only had 2 fouls. Like
he had a smooth jump shot as well.
Jump shot was incredible. Like he was pulling up in between defenders as well. They weren't easy shots, and I think what impressed me most about Derby as well is the mentality. Right, they have a frigging game on Saturday at Westminster too. So they travel from Westminster down to Plymouth, which is not a short trip. It's not a short trip at all. But they don't get to pavilions at 3:00 tip off thinking, okay, well, we'll give it our best shot, but we might not be, in the best position here. They didn't. There was no time to feel sorry for themselves. They were so focused, and it was incredible to watch. I was waiting for the run from Patriots, and it never came, and that's what disappointed me with Patriots. I didn't like a lot of the body language of some of their players, or the bench players. I don't think contributed. You have major contributions from Dusha and Hassani. You think they're probably the least 2 guys that you need everyone else to sort of come to the party, and you're waiting for that run that never really materialized. And Derby were pretty clever in the sense of they didn't guard the 3-point line very well. So that was actually an area that Plymouth did very well in. They shot the ball well, 14 for 32. So it was a healthy enough 3-point shooting night for them. But Derby gave them that. You could see they didn't really run guys off lines. They let them shoot. That's how they got back into the game as well. If you remember, Dusha hit some big ones, and Gadsden hit the same identical shot in the corner like 2-3 times in a row, which they gave that up. But it still wasn't enough. They did a great job on everything else, and Plymouth just didn't look like they had any answers. It just didn't have any answers whatsoever, and you could just see them as the game kind of got past that third quarter. You could just see they were just rattled, and Plymouth just didn't know what to do.
You're right with the 3-point shooting. I was going to say they almost dared Patriots to shoot. All right, you want to take the 3, we'll give you the 3, but if it comes into Hassan, we're going to double team. And a lot of the times they stripped it from him. Like I say, Brugman was great at cover. Harrison as well was very good at dropping back and just getting a hand in there and just doing enough to make Hassan either force it out of bounds or have to pass it up or give it away. Either. He did. Rashad had a great game. LVC, it was forced to have a great game. He prefers to provide, and he was almost kind of forced into that. There was no Juwan Daniels, which I think would have been very influential in that game. He would have got some good minutes, and it would have been valuable for him. And it's a shame. He likes
a massive difference.
Yeah, his size. He likes the outside shot though, and to be given the opportunity to just put it up, he wouldn't hesitate. I don't think, and he is very consistent. In training, it's very different, obviously, to a game. I get that, but it's part of his game that he likes. But what I thought Derby did incredibly well was the second a shot went up, the second they had a turnover, they were down the other end of the floor, and they were trying to get a one-on-one situation with Smith. Generally, was trying to get him down the floor. and get him a one-on-one with whoever ran down with him, because what they did, they'd had a very good switch where they would defensively, they knew Hassan was going to pick him up, but offensively they would put who was the other guy? They put May Thompson on Hassan quite a lot, which then meant on offense Smith just absolutely bombed it down the floor. Had to be switches because Hassan's not going to catch up with him, and he would get the one-on-one. And the amount of times he got down the floor, made that catch, was one-on-one, took it to the basket, got fouled, and made the basket as well. Got the and one. He was phenomenal. But Brugman for me just was absolute class. Yeah. I think he played 1 minute less than the full 40, according to that. 38 minutes, 59 seconds. And he was just, he's one of the best point guards I've seen this season.
And that was a team that played less than 24 hours before that as well.
And they didn't make a fuss of that either. And a lot of teams would. A lot of teams would be on social media making a fuss about that. Oh, we've got to do this huge journey, and we've only just played. Not a fuss, not a single bit of fuss. Their media team was down. There's about 5 of them. They had a really good travelling support. They had a drum, a vuvuzela. Like they came to do a job, and they came and they did the job, and they stuck to their game plan. And like you say, Patriots just didn't have an answer for it. They didn't seem to. I liked Jules Dangakoda. I like his energy and what he does. But he played 29 minutes. I still feel like he's getting like game match fitness to a degree. He can't sustain it, which is a shame, because that kind of thing was valuable for that kind of game. But it almost felt like Patriots. And it's not true. Coaching staff had been telling them all week it's not going to be an easy game. This is a good team. They've lost 2 games all year in their division, and one of those games was unfortunate. I think they lost to Reading, and they're still bitter about that. Like, they didn't want to drop that game. Statistically, when you look at the league in terms of losses, they actually should be second. They've only lost 2 games. Worthing have played extra games but lost 3 games, so they are technically they're kind of good for that second spot. But they just, yeah. They're one of and I do think they're one of those teams. There's a history of it, isn't there, really? The kind of top 3 teams in the NBL can cause the bottom 4 teams in the BBL problems. It's always been the case. It's a one-off game in the trophy. We know that. But I feel like more and more that these guys could still come in. I mean, look at our league table right now. If they were coming up against the Eagles or the Scorchers in the next round, I would say they're going through to the final. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those situations. But
if the game is in Glasgow, I hope they travel really poorly so that the Derby down to Plymouth. No, they won't.
They won't.
It's going to be a good matchup, because guys like Smith, the big athletic guys, if they shoot anywhere half as near as they did against Plymouth, and we play like we played against London, we ain't winning that game.
Hey, going to lose by 50.
I think Derby might have a game less than 24 hours on the way up to you, just for a warm-up,
Oh, that's a bad omen. That's a bad omen. I think it's cancelled. How are we ranking these upsets then, fellas? So we've got Lions going out to Gladiators, Riders going out to the Sharks, and the Patriots going out to the Trailblazers. Which one ranks the high? Oh, we'll go reverse order. Give us your number 3.
Right, come on, Andy.
They're equally all surprising to me. They're nuts. If you put a 5 on 3 of those teams to oh my goodness, those odds would have been insane.
Do you know what? As I was saying that out loud, I thought he's literally splitting hairs right now. I would still put, and I know I said go in reverse order, but I would still put the Lions' loss as the biggest surprise.
Really?
Yeah,
I would.
I know you wouldn't.
Not with the knowledge of knowing that, because knowing it's really hard to beat in Glasgow, and knowing the lineup, that doesn't surprise the actual.
Well, maybe that's it. I didn't realize the lineup as what it was until tip-off time. Like,
yeah,
you assumed they'd. Man, this is what's going to lead us onto the conspiracies. If you assumed they've got to rest players, I get that, but there is to a degree you can kind of. those players can still be on the roster and can play 10, 15 minutes, and they can do what they've been doing all year long, which is share the minutes among these guys, and they don't really break a sweat, and they've been turning teams over, which is very frustrating for the rest of the league, but that's the quality they've got and the European competition they're in. So I guess from that, like you say, from that perspective, maybe that isn't the biggest shock.
The biggest shock's got to be Plymouth losing to Derby.
Yeah.
I then would go Sheffield beating Leicester. And then I'm going, because I predict Gladiators to win every game. So for me, that's not a shock.
Well, yeah, but then you just said that. You predicted them to win every game anyway. So it doesn't matter. They could be playing Chicago Bulls next week. You're picking Glads.
Probably. Well, are we playing BBL rules or NBA
rules? Like it matters.
Nah.
I'll go with that. I would agree with that. I think that the Pats game is probably the biggest shock out of the three.
I'm pretty shocked about the Riders, in all honesty. At home against Sheffield, who have been very inconsistent. The Plymouth one, you could see it kind of developing. Plymouth have not been very good, since the departure of Antonio Williams. They've really struggled. So you could see they were there for the taking, and you hear as well what's going on underneath the bonnet. Perhaps that the engine's not as powerful as what it once was. So at the end of the day, it's a basketball game. No one cares what division you're from. You still got to perform. So that doesn't surprise me. The manner in which they lost surprised me. In all honesty, it wasn't a one-shot game.
The confidence in them.
That does surprise me. Yeah, it does. But
Riders
they were
for you
there
then.
for the taking, I think. Yeah.
Riders Sharks, the biggest shock. That as well. That's a hell of a shock. When you look at the Sharks' kind of form of late, and like you say, they really kind of fell off a mountain. They lost to the Eagles by 14 the other week, and that's the team they needed to beat because the Eagles have got those 2 games in hand over them, and they could lose that 8th spot to the Eagles. People are starting to say, Sharks maybe, like you said earlier, Sharks kind of need to press the reset button, just get through this season, start again afresh, but. Tied then.
Yeah, can we just agree there? It was just absolute chaos.
A mad weekend. Yeah, crazy weekend in the BBL. And some crazy conspiracies as well. Go on.
Yeah, that's also missing out on the fact that Cheshire comfortably beat Surrey in the other game in the trophy. We've kind of just forgotten about them.
Absolutely. Yeah, we didn't even mention that. 93-74. It started quite well, the Scorchers as well. They were in that game, and then just Cheshire Phoenix. I've been really impressed with them of late. I know to the point where the pair of us, me and Grant last week, were very tempted to take the Knicks at home over the Lions. It was that kind of they've had that kind of form and they've been that dominant at home. That's definitely not an upset. I think we'd all agreed that. The Phoenix were taking that one. And Surrey maybe are in that situation we talked about with the Sharks, where they kind of just need to get through this season and see what they can do next season. Because obviously they've got a very good coach. If they can keep some of those guys, there's a core there of players that are very talented. They can keep those guys and then add to them next season.
Yeah. I think Surrey needed to run their offense more than just one pass shoot.
Let's do the next bit. Let's talk about the conspiracies because they are fun. Have you guys listened to the Sunday Night Breakdown? And you've got to say yes because your partner in crime, obviously, it's.
I did, yeah, I did catch it. My Monday morning ritual.
So, I mean, we've got, and it was mainly Dave Forrester, who is adamant that the Lions threw it. Like they had no intention of progressing in the trophy. We know there's massive rumours, and we've heard from various sources that the trophy is not going to be with us next season, and it's going to be an all-star game instead. We'll see whether that comes to fruition. There was also an element in the show that Dan Routledge would rather keep the trophy because that is a pure BBL competition over the Cup, which. Yeah, the Cup goes back longer, but obviously it didn't become the BBL Cup until 2004, although the records still show and they still count. It was obviously that period of time where it split National League and BBL, veered off, if you like. But then there is that weird thing where NBL teams are in the BBL trophy, which has always been strange to me. I've never really understood. It's a BBL competition. The cup would make more sense, but then of course the cup is all split anyway, so they've got their own national cup within that as well. So thanks to Dan Routledge, by the way,
mental.
Oh, it's crazy. But thanks to Dan Routledge for referring to me as a historian of the BBL. I like that. It made me feel a bit old, but
you call us the brave-hearted and adds you whatever. You're going to be the historian.
I really like that. I was a fan of that. I was taken aback. But what do we think in terms of? Because the other theory was that it makes more sense in terms of ownership for the league if the Scottish team in the league make the final in Scotland. It will sell more tickets and it will be more of an event. That was another angle that Mr. Forrester went along. What do we think about these guys? Let's Grant first. As a Gladiators fan, how do you feel if suddenly it's rumoured that the Lions have chucked that one?
I don't think the players chucked it who played on the court. Like, you didn't have to see by what's the young 18-year-old? Is it Welsh? How do you say his name?
What's you, mate?
Him. Sorry for pronunciation off. When he knocked down that big three in the fourth quarter, his reaction wasn't for someone chucking the game. He turned around and screamed to that bench like, "Come on, let's go!" Like, the guys that played, they're all pro players. A lot of teams don't have 10 pros in their team. Regardless of who's on the floor, it's 40 minutes of basketball going end to end. We had an off night. If London had turned up more, hey, we could have lost to London's, whatever you want to call this, Johnny said C team when I spoke to him. But we've seen this rotation come on and finish games. They finished against that team played and beat Plymouth, basically.
Yeah.
They've played and beaten Surrey. And they generally do have some quite serious injury concerns to, like, Sam Decker's out for a couple of weeks, Taylor's out for a week or so, and Uni's out, or Oni's out again, and you think, So that's three of their better players.
Zubcic was the one for me that obviously was amazing at Plymouth.
But I feel like he's not missed a game all season. I feel like he's played. Fruban's been injured, coming back into it. I just think from them the whole season, the kind of three solids have been Luke Nelson, Kostas Koufos, and Zubcic. So, okay, the latter two sat out, and both of them almost whacked their heads off the door when they walked into the Emirates. They're that bloody tall. But in terms of saying it's conspiracy, or in terms of saying they threw the game, I mean, they easily could have still won that game with what they had out on the floor. Would we be having the same discussion if Gladiators won by 20 if we had any sort of offense? Maybe we probably would have it more. I think I'm beating around the bush of what I don't really know, and don't really like. I can get why also people can get upset by it, because they then are they taking the event that seriously? We hear rumours that this will be the last BBL trophy final. They've not really struggled to sell out Glasgow. They do reduce. It is seen, I think, by the league as the third trophy in terms of, or fourth after championship as well. And would a team from Scotland in the final in Glasgow be beneficial? It'd be beneficial to everyone, but it's only happened once before. Let's be honest, it's only happened once, and however, I couldn't tell you that final's been in Glasgow for I'd say at least 10 years.
Yeah, longer.
And so you're saying, let's say 10% of the time, and that was a Rocks team that was really poor and failed to make the playoffs, and we lost to Worcester in the final that had Zaire Taylor and both Williams and Creekmore. What a team that Worcester team was. Anyway, I digress. Oh, there's Ads joining us.
Ads is joining us, yeah, we'll let him connect.
Time for Ads. He's in the car. What a guy. Hey, Ad, you don't understand this. We get calls in from the cars, fast food restaurants.
Oh, dear.
The professionalism of this podcast is through the roof.
People doing their shopping, all sorts. They don't bother us. Just give us a word. Ads, mate, you all right?
He's going to have the Wi-Fi.
No, I'm just calling from the jet.
From the jet. From the personal jet. We're just talking about conspiracy theories and whether or not the Lions threw that game against Caledonia.
That was the worst, but best basketball game I've ever seen.
That's probably the best description I've ever heard.
It was utterly bizarre.
Yeah, it was an odd one.
When I tuned into this the right quarter? Is this the right game? What on earth was what was that, Grant? You were there. What was that?
One of the most fun game of basketballs I've ever been witnessed in person. I'm not joking. And this is what I'm going back to saying, like, we can say and get upset and whatever else, but it was an enjoyable 40 minutes of basketball watching it, being there. Like, from an event entertainment spectacle, it was brilliant. So, and obviously massively with my Gladiators hat, I've actually got a Gladiators foam finger 2 meters away from me right now.
I hope so too. Good.
You put that on. That's many Gladcasts. Foam finger purchased against Sheffield Sharks. She's already got about 6 of them, but hey, what's another one? But I think if London wanted to, they could have played their bigger guys, and actually, would that then have made Gladiators make more shots because they're playing against the A team, the B team, whatever you want to call it? Do London want to get to another final? I think every organisation wants to win every match, don't they? But
I thought that was their intention when they first came in. They wanted to win it all.
But I meant, if I had time, if I didn't finish work, and if we went the usual record time of 10 p.m, I was going to look up and see exactly how many matches London have played so far this season. And I'm guessing it must be, wouldn't be far off saying it's a double in some BBL teams.
Yeah.
And like, that's a banged up team. Like, the fact that their injury report saying guys are out for a few weeks. Oni was at the game, but didn't look that comfortable walking. So they've got to rest guys at some point. And if they think, you know what, the trophy's not our priority, we've won the cup, we've progressed, we're in the top 8 for our group, we really think we can make a go at that, then so be it. Come on, Ant, let's hear Euro.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, when things get like conspiracy and complex or whatever, I like to just go back to just common sense. Let me just strip it back so I can process in my mind. And it's weird. It is. Said the word weird, bizarre. It's really strange. I don't get it. If it wasn't something that they wanted to pursue, I don't get it. Why wouldn't you be the team that just did the quadruple? Like, you have the resources, the talent, and all it is 2 extra games. We're not talking about a 7-game series and then another 7-game series. It's 2 extra games, and I know that their schedule is really packed in March. So that's another thing as well. With a lot of the guys that are being rested now, there's a break period in Eurobasket. So there's no more Euro games for another 3 weeks. It's a break. So that coincides with good opportunity to rest Decker and some of the other guys. But why wouldn't you rest them in the league match in Cheshire, not the cup game, the single elimination game against Caledonia, who are pretty good in Glasgow? It makes no sense to me. And that's the point of me where I'm kind of getting sucked into the conspiracy theories, because my logic and the common sense is saying it doesn't make sense. It doesn't to me. I'm struggling to rationale. And okay, let's have a look at why they're looking to get rid of why we want to get rid of the cup anyway, or the trophy, or whatever. Why not keep 4? I like having 4. It's great.
Yeah, it's different.
I don't want one of those to go. What's the reason for one of them having to go? I don't know, but I don't know, man. It's all very weird, mate. Very, very weird. Very weird.
It's strange as well when you look at that league game they played. Zubcic best, Kufus, Traban played 20 minutes. Luke Nelson played 26 minutes. Sharma played 20 minutes. So
a lot of guys played their usual kind of minutes. With then, instead of Decker, it was.
I get it. Like he said, he wants to give the young guys a crack at it. But if you want to progress in that competition in Scotland against the team that's hot at the moment, let's be honest, with some tasty new additions and existing players that have been impressive this season. I'd still would want. I mean, it's probably the shortest bench they've run out with, isn't it? There's only 4 on the bench there. I mean, the only time I can think where they've gone less is when they maybe had 4 on the bench when they were a bit banged up when they played Leicester. Way back towards the beginning of the Euro Cup, they were missing a couple, and Sam Decker had to play like 35 minutes. It's really, yeah.
I mean, I suppose you throw into the mix the whole Ovie situation as well, then.
Well, we'll talk about that in a sec, but I'll talk about what we can. Obviously, as always, you never get the full. All you can go by is what we're told, and we can speculate till the cows come home, but we don't really We don't really know what's going on there. But even Aaron Best, 9 minutes 21 seconds against the Gladiators,
And he's someone
and then started against Cheshire and played half an hour.
Yeah,
it is very tasty when you think of it as conspiracy. It does give you a bit of fuel for the fire, doesn't it? When you look at that in comparison, what they did in a one-off game in the trophy compared to what they did against Cheshire in the league, and the amount of class players, they could have rested two of them. We could have left two players out of the Gladiators game, and rotated a different two. There's Zubcic, Best, and obviously the minutes were different. Kufos, Sharma, Nelson. You can probably still have those guys in your squad for that Caledonia game. They probably still may only play 20 minutes, and you can rotate them again when it comes to Cheshire. But it is weird. It is a strange one.
Well, you look at even some of the key players, right? So Nelson, he was plus 16 in that game. He plays 10 minutes. And then Aaron Best was plus 15. He's played 9 minutes. So you're right, Pabs. If you just plugged two of their main guys in the rotation there, even 12 minutes or 10 minutes each, and they have a plus 15 or a plus 16 in a 2-point game, it changes the whole dynamics of the game. And I think what I'm struggling with as well, the guys played really hard. They played their hearts out. It wasn't the London Lions players. And you said when Will Chu made a shot or someone made a play, they were really trying to win. They were trying to win, and I think that's what I'm conflicted a little bit this year. And full disclosure, last year it was a lot easier for me to dislike the London Lions. I didn't like them or they had a bad attitude. The body language sucked, and they were the guys with all the resources that they were quite easy not to like, right?
Yeah,
in my opinion. This year, I struggle to not like them because they've got guys in the corner smiling and they're high-fiving each other. I'm like, what? Like the bad guy's good now. Like it's hard to be, like I want them to do well, and I find myself like literally on the edge of my couch, watching them play Eurobasket with part of me's pride, and I want them to do well. So it's want them to go all the way. So it's I like this team, and I just don't understand why some of the decisions are being made maybe in the way that they're being made, because I think this could be a team that could be really celebrated and minus maybe 1 or 2 apples that are in the bunch, but it's this is a really good group, and I think it's one that we could be proud of.
And of course, then I get there's always been a thing in the NBA, conspiracy things where they've linked it to head office saying, it would be better if this team made the final or got further because they're a bigger market team and all that kind of stuff. So I guess it goes hand in hand, doesn't it? If you're going to say Lions maybe wanted to throw that one and have maybe looked at it, and the owners have looked at it and thought, well, it'd be better if the Gladiators were in the final for this, and their pathway to that is arguably
20 years, by the way. It's been a long 20 trophyless years.
It's been arguably a little bit. It's been arguably an easier ride now for the Gladiators. Now they've got rid of the Lions to get to the final, and they fully deserve.
Beat Eagles and Lions to get this far, regardless of who played. We've had quite a tough.
Well, you've had the Lions
and the Eagles.
Well,
the Eagles were kind of playing all right at that point.
They've not been great, have they, this year?
They had a good game the game before this.
They're coming together more, and there's more of a chance of them making the playoffs now. But anyway, they're below you in the table by a long way. But you have to deal with the Lions, and you dealt with what you can only beat the team in front of you, and that Lions team was the team in front of you, and you beat them.
We've beat every team except Cheshire this season.
That's
we've
true.
Only played them twice away from, and both times we've not played them in Glasgow yet. We've got them Friday night, I think, or we do. Cheshire's the only team that's we've not beat yet, and that's both of them games have been at Cheshire's lovely creche facility.
Just quickly on the end of this, we did put it out on Twitter regarding whether or not a team in the BBL doesn't, if they don't do the quadruple, can they be considered as the greatest? Because obviously we've got all these NBA guys here. It's a loaded squad. We've got some British players, the likes of which I don't think some of us ever thought we'd see here, like Luke Nelson, phenomenal talent. Ovie Soko obviously returning again. I don't think anybody thought he would come back. Obviously he's going again, but he came back initially. Did they need to do the quadruple to be on that list?
I guess I would ask the question: did they not need to do the quadruple? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm an advocate. I hold teams that do the quadruple very highly, regardless of the European. The European side of it adds to that. But yeah, go on. Sorry, Ant.
No, I just don't. I don't understand why they wouldn't go for everything you could win domestically. Yeah, I don't know. Part of me as well. Like, look, I didn't do the quadruple. We did the treble. We lost by 2 frigging points up in Glasgow, which prevented us from doing the quadruple. So, we weren't able to do that. But I still strongly, would argue that we were one of the best teams that we've had at Riders. But again, it's very biased and it's very borderline arrogant to say that. But I think
you're right.
I think you need a little bit of luck. I think you need a little bit of luck and everything to go your way to do a quadruple because things can happen. Yeah.
Ads, my man. You want to weigh in on that one?
Well, I'm glad that they're not going to win the quadruple.
Good. We'll leave that. I'll clip that.
Do it. Clip it. And you can also clip this. At the start of the season, when everyone was going, they're not going to drop a game, they're going to win the quadruple, they'll be unbeaten, and I was like, no, I reckon they're going to lose 3 or 4 games and they won't do the quadruple.
You're on that at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean...
Mystic Meg over there.
Well, no, it's like Ant said. It wasn't like they looked as if they were trying to throw the game. Well, I mean, Jesus. Both teams at some point looked like they were trying to throw the game, you know what I mean? That's got to go down as one of the lowest scoring games in league history, surely. I mean, the highlight for me was Johnny Bunyan. What a geezer. I mean, for Johnny Bunyan, I'm happy that London are going to win the quadruple.
Ads, he wasn't happy with his performance, though.
Well, at the end of the day, he was a big part of why they won it in the end.
Definitely.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I really believe that there is some conspiracy theories going on down there because just all these weird things that just keep happening. Like today, Ovie Soko leaves. It's like, what? And all of the reasons for these people leaving, whether it be Kennedy Leonard, Mark Clark, and now Ovie Soko, it's like, it almost seems like the statements that they're putting on the post are sort of a bit of lip service, you know?
There is, when you think about everything kind of strung together, let's move on to that side of it now, the Lions and Ovie leaving the club, but staying on the sidelines and being involved off court still, apparently, according to the post anyway.
Never going to happen.
But when you look at all these things kind of strung together, Kennedy Leonard going made no sense to me whatsoever. You got the playoff MVP from the season before, just a top level female athlete in this country across any sport. Like,
they tried to play on last night with a broken hand.
Phenomenal player.
Exactly.
That's an absolute baller.
Exactly. He's just put in a shit.
Then Coach Clark goes, which I guess Oh, hang on. He must be going through a tunnel. Coach Clark leaving. I get more to a degree, and I realise that the domestic success he'd had was fantastic. They went out of the European competition way sooner than they wanted to, and they're owned by a proper corporate organisation who wants results. Domestically, I don't think is an issue. It's not like it's even on the radar. They expect to walk everything there because of it being with the best will in the world, probably the only team that is fully professional in that league. And that is a shame because it should be, across the board in terms of the BBL. But I could kind of see why they, shuffled him around and brought in somebody else who's a bit more European tested, if you like. I got that. Then the Barking Abbey thing, which, you can take in a number of different ways regarding that. So yeah, when you string together all these things, it's a bit strange. What do we make of the Ovie thing, though? I mean, obviously, from what they've put, he's recovering from an injury. There's no more he can kind of contribute, if you like. There were pictures of him on Twitter looking very dapper. I think it was at an awards thing the other night. I'm not sure.
I don't follow with Chop Chop.
Chop Chop, yeah. That was the tweet, wasn't it? Looking very dapper, as he always does. To be fair, which is really irritating.
I read that as being quite an ironic tweet of "I've been chopped."
I see. Well, of course, yeah.
But I've also got my theory is if he is injured, let's just say like what's been said. They've said he's injured. He's still going to be on the sideline. So if he's injured, he's maybe like the injury is a bit more serious. Regardless of anything else, he's not going to be able to commit to all the team cut stuff. So we've released him from his contract so he can maybe pursue some media modelling, whatever. Let's look at what they've said.
Yeah.
He's still going to be able to come on game day, but we've released him because he's not going to be able to play, train, whatever else. So he's not going to be able to meet his contract with us.
What did they do with like Tariq Phillip and that? Is he still there? Because there was no kind of formal announcement of that. As far as we know, he's still part of that squad.
I think he's still there. I see him on the sidelines still.
Yeah.
I think he's still there.
So that seems it's different. That's a very different response, isn't it? To actively say that Ovie is off the team. He's not going to play for us. He's going to recover from injury, and then to have someone like Tariq Phillip, who I have no idea if there's any intention of him coming back by the end of the season, but is travelling with the team and is there and is a part of that squad. The contrast of that just doesn't sit right with me, anyway. I don't know about you guys. Go on, Ads, my man, you're back.
Oh, it doesn't sit well with me. It's just another weird, random announcement, and I think we predicted last week that there was going to be more. I think we said this, didn't we? There'd probably be more, and I just think that things like this will just keep coming. To be honest, just weird little things like this. I mean, it's not a bad run, is it? 4 major pieces of news in 2 weeks since winning a trophy.
No, it's quite efficient if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Moving forward, though, what are they going to do? Are they going to replace him? And if so, what with? Because it was mentioned online today that there's a 6 American rule in the Euro Cup. Is that right? Did I get that? Did I read that right?
Euro Cup, there's unlimited.
It is unlimited. Somebody said something about 6. I don't know where that came from.
Well, they've got 6, haven't they?
Lions played all 6 last game.
Yeah, Lions have got 6.
Is that what it was?
Maybe.
That's interesting, because I thought there was only 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they're allowed to change. It's like signing and releasing a player. Like you're allowed to sign and release, say, nine Americans throughout the season. So London have had to be very careful about how many times they've swapped them in about for league play, because it counts as like a new player almost every time they do it.
Yeah.
So that's what we've seen Ruban sit. We've seen Best sit. So it'll be interesting to see who sits the remainder of the season, because I think they've only got 1 left.
So
they could bring in another American player
for Euro Cup, yeah,
just for Euro.
For the BBL though, if you're trying to replace Ovie Soko, I mean, what other British guys do you know of that caliber that are out there now? That's hard to replace.
None that are available, is it? I mean, Miles Hessen was the name being banded around, but he's from what we hear, he's doing very well out in was it Japan? He's out in at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one to see happening.
Well, they can afford him.
Well, that's true. If anyone can, it's the Lions, isn't it?
What a lifestyle though to be in Japan though. Like
I would love to go to Japan. One place I'd love to go. The wife's got no interest in Japan at all, which is a real.
Japan.
What'd you say?
I've been to Japan.
Oh, he just drops that in, doesn't he? Was that in the music days?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very much in the music days, yes.
Wasn't with Bonehead, was it?
No, that was I did the Fuji Rock Festival.
Ah.
What did you do, Adam?
For that one, I was tour managing Jar Wobble.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we did a show at Mount Fuji Rock Festival.
That's so cool.
Incredible. Japan is an amazing place.
Oh, I really want to go. Did you eat sushi? You don't look like a sushi guy.
I dabbled a little bit, but you gotta
Dabbled.
really know what it is you're eating out there. You know what I mean?
No. Let the locals order for you. Fingers crossed.
Sorry, I'm also just looking at the Euro Cup standings.
Yeah,
We're seventh at the moment.
there's a bit of how do we word this? There's a bit of pushback. There's a bit of pushback from them and the qualifying Euro League and the post about their success and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's good. I mean, it's not that it's not been done before. It's not been done for a long, long time. Like teams progressing in European competition. Manchester United did it years ago. That was I'm not sure if I'm right in saying it's the Korak Cup, so it was like second, third tier cup. Obviously, we talk about Kingston, and I get reprimanded regularly for talking about Kingston because they're from the past, and I'm not allowed to. But the Kings did it in the Euro League level. And the thing that annoyed me the most was people saying how, the standard now is way better. But I would argue it's relative. The difference is that we didn't keep up. British teams didn't keep up from the early 90s right the way through till even 2003 when the Bears went in it and had a crack at the ULEB, which is a forerunner for the Euro Cup. Took some big scalps that didn't qualify for the next round. Even that proved how far or how little we'd kind of progressed compared to the rest of Europe, to the point where there's such a big gulf now that it's taken 7-7-7 to bring in a team of relative all-stars in terms of the BBL to get them in further in the competition. Frustrating when you think of it like that. And there's a lot of guys were very frustrated in our Discord channel. We're very frustrated. We're like, wow, I didn't think of it like that. When you look at it like that, just how we had European competition every season and how much it dropped off. It's frustrating, but hopefully we've turned a corner and it's getting back there. But should we? Anybody else got anything to say regarding the Ovie Soccer thing or Lions in general? Anything else we've had a chat about? Ads, obviously, you've missed a chunk of it.
I just think there's more to come. There's more to this story still to come.
Ovies particularly, or just in general?
Just in general, I just think that it's a team that has some sort of plan, a franchise that has some sort of plan. What it is, who knows? But I just think there's going to be more weirdness and more announcements over the next probably few weeks.
This is where, I'm just kind of touching back on the fact, speaking with Gladiators. I still say Rocks. How bad's that? I, of all people, still say Rocks occasionally. But speaking to Steve, he kind of got across a plan of what he wants to do. If we look at it in 2 points, London Lions, we know they want to do well in Europe, but we don't really know what else. And then from a league point of view, we've got a new CEO that is only really just in the door, like we said the other week, and we still haven't really been told or made aware of what's the plan going forward. And we've seen little improvements already. The broadcasting of matches moved away from the rubbish stuff, and it's a lot better. So we're slowly seeing changes that side. We see the fact that the cup final, the presentation was insane. We hear about broadcast deals and other things, but that's because we hear things. We know things. We don't know a lot, and what we know is probably half wrong anyway. But I just feel as if, at least Steve, he was open, honest. We as stakeholders as such in the BBL, do we eventually find out what's a short, medium, long term plan for the league? And then do we hear what London want to do? I think Gladiator fans should be pretty excited by what the Timneys plan on doing up here. like create a proper kind of basketball legacy up here. So it'll be. I'm just really curious to see like what we get from a league standpoint and how like almost like do we get much honesty out of it?
That was one of the things. Oh, go on, sorry, Ant. Yeah.
No, I would echo that as well. I think transparency is something we've all been craving for and demanded for a long time, and we get it to a minute part, but not the whole picture. And I think whenever there's a conspiracy, right? Whenever there's limited information, and then there's enough oddness to question the rationale or the reasoning behind something, right? And I think these are instances now which have happened, which is those two boxes are ticked, right? There's limited information. There's enough reason to perhaps question. It's some of the timings of things as well don't quite add up. So I think transparency. I think I think sometimes you just have to be honest with the fans, whoever whoever you need to be honest with yourself. I think is a good place to start, and that sort of translates to everything. And I get it, like it's a business, and a lot of these organizations will have to make decisions to preserve the business, reputation, financial, whatever. So it's, I know that there's other factors to go into this as well, but there just seems to be at the moment there's limited information, and it's quite hard to have an opinion on some things because you could criticize something and literally 2 weeks later there's a new brand spanking program that's just been announced, and you think, oh right, no, I don't feel as aggrieved as that other thing I was concerned about before. So it's just little bits here and there, isn't it, of fed information, and you never really understand the whole picture. So yeah, I would agree. I'd echo that.
I'll tell you what. Let's spend 5 minutes or so on. Well, if you want, do you guys want to? I may cut this out. The professionalism on Twitter that's happened lately, and there's standout candidates for that. I don't know if we should mention any names, but there are, shall we say, ex-players tweeting various pictures and being very disrespectful to their former coaches, former teammates to a degree. There's people who should know better, shall we say, that are in coaching positions which involve kids, and they are not really given a good account of themselves, shall we say, on Twitter in reaction to various things. And I'll be honest, in terms of the Patriots, when they lose, it's the worst place to be, social media, because there's a lot of haters in Plymouth. We said it in jest at the beginning, well, before we went live. When it comes to the Patriots, you either love them or you despise them, and you wish them every.
But why? This is what I don't get. Why?
Yeah.
What is it down there? I mean,
because they're all happy for the wee pie ads. They're small pie, and they don't want other people to take it or to half it with them.
But hang on. Well, just run through it again, though.
It makes no sense.
Your franchise falls apart. You've no longer got a team in the league. Someone comes to the rescue, gives you the team back. You're in the same venue. You keep some of the same great players. You got the same coach. What's with the hate? What is there to hate? Like what? When they say this is what I hate about it, what is it that they hate?
I'd like to do that. Someone else. That would be interesting.
I honestly think it's because someone else has come in and is looking, and they're upset that they might have to work harder to keep up what they're doing. Like, nobody likes change. We all hate change, but competition is good. If we're talking about youth basketball, for an example here, like in my job, I've got 8-9 other clubs round about me that I'm all competing with to be whatever. I would love for none of those clubs to exist because I'd look even better than I already am. But the point being, I need them as much as they need me. You can't just have one thing. If Plymouth's a big place, or that whole Southwest is a big part of the world, like if we're not happy that there's another youth basketball setup coming along, then make your youth basketball setup better. You go out and get yourself better. Go and do more qualifications. Open up more venues. Go make yourself better rather than moaning about other people. Oh, they're not coming to talk to us. But yeah, I don't know if they have or they haven't. I hear they have. I hear they haven't. Right? Why don't
Well,
you
you
go
never
make,
get a straight answer on any of that.
why don't you go make that conversation happen for the greater good of basketball rather than being selfishly moaning about social media on social media? Nothing good happens on social media.
No,
We all know
God, no.
that. We spout a load of crap on social media is what it's for, right? You're moaning about business stuff. Go have a grown-up conversation with someone in a room.
No,
Good.
yeah,
Mic drop.
I agree, and I think well, I'm from Plymouth. Pabs lives down there, lives down there now, and I was pretty vocal and honest about it when it all happened, and I was grateful. I even thanked Carl, his lot for saving professional basketball in my hometown, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of an awkward situation with some people down there I've known for many years, and they were like, "Oh, can you believe what they're doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean? They're running a basketball franchise in Plymouth?" And I kind of had the same mentality as ads on that one. I didn't really, I didn't feel threatened by that. I just remember, look, if I was how old was I? I was a 12-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy who went to watch Plymouth Raiders play in the pavilions. Had I not done that, I don't think maybe I go to a Division 1 game or a Division 2 game in a sports hall. I don't know if that would have been a big enough spark for me to want me to start my own career.
Yeah.
I was very lucky that we were Division 1 at the time, and we were very good. But we played in the pavilions, a BBO setup, and had I not had that, I don't think I would have played, and I wouldn't have had the career I had, and I wouldn't be speaking to you gentlemen now. So,
Guys,
This is your peak. Your peak, Dad.
I made it. And you take the Plymouth Raiders out of the equation. The boys and girls now don't get to see that. They don't get to see the show, and maybe that changes their path. And I think people don't understand too, when companies go into liquidation, they don't come back. Like, it's done. It's over. And had someone not stepped in and saved Plymouth, basketball, it might not ever be back again. And I think people struggle to sort of get that around their heads. They just see someone else coming in a new color, not Will Fox anymore with a bloody dog, and they just see. I don't know. It's us against them mentality, which is it's sad. It's sad to see, because there's some very loyal fans and have been fans for decades, and for whatever reason, the bitterness prevails over what should be relief and happiness. It's it's a very unique mixture. Very unique mixture. Yeah.
it is odd. It's a really odd atmosphere. The game Sunday, I left pretty promptly because it just was a bit. It was just a bit weird. Like, it was a bit strange. I think PJ's being put under pressure by some elements of, whether it's Patriots fans or whether it's people that are calling themselves Patriots fans, even though they may be a bit more with the Raiders kind of side of it and have that little negativity towards it. But it feels like they're putting him under undue pressure for things that really aren't his fault. And I've always thought basketball fans to have a little bit of extra knowledge, a little bit one step up, if you like, from football fans. They won't just chant randomly at the manager because you're losing 2-0 to a team that spent millions more than you. That doesn't matter in football. They'll just still have a whinge. But we kind of understand in basketball the what goes into each team and what the restraints are with each team. Antonio Williams went. A team came in for him. They could afford his buyout clause. The club can't afford to pay him any more. And obviously the team coming in can afford to pay him more. But you're not going to be able to keep him. Even if you want to keep him, you can't keep him. Troy Simons is his close friend. He's going to go as well. I get that. He kind of came in the same kind of way, He kind of followed Antonio Williams out here and he's followed him out. And the new guys have come in and they're going to take time to gel. They really are. I don't see how you attribute that to be Paul James's fault.
I've got a question for you. You will have been in situations on rosters where players have either gone out because of injury or moved on to other clubs. We've seen it. We've talked about it in this show and countless examples around the league. How tough is that for a roster to have a guy leave for whatever reason, injury, moving up a level or falling out of the team, to then having new guys come in? How tough is that?
Yeah, it can be really tough. And it depends on the individual, right? It depends on how much of an influence they've had on the group. So I remember at my second year in Plymouth, we had I had this Belgian guy that lived with me, shooting guard, good guy, lovely guy, and he lived with me, and we lived together for like 2-3 months. I'm not gonna lie, I was super wounded. Like I know it's a business, and I know we're all grown up, we're all men, but it genuinely affected me, and I was the team captain at the time, and I had to. I had to pretend that it was all okay and we were going to be. But I just remember I was like emotionally mad at the team too. Like, and again, maybe it's naivety in me because it's a business, but it can have an effect. And the same way as well, a player that has a negative effect on the team when he goes, it can have a positive effect. So that's why it's absolutely essential the coach gets it right. So the answer to your question, it has an effect. Granted, it's just whether that's a good effect or a bad effect, but it can have an impact. It really can. And you can get clicks too, which is quite. It sounds silly because basketball is like 10 people on the team, but you can get little pockets. And these three are really close, and these four are really close. And if something happens to that little click, oh man, it can have a ricochet on the whole team. A lot of the coach's job really at the pro game is not teaching, it's not coaching. You're not going to make a guy's dribble better. You're not going to make his jump shot really better over one season. A lot of it is man management and leadership, is leading of men. So if a coach can get the guys to buy in, and that's what is we don't speak enough about, but you got to remember on year-to-year contracts, you in the back of your head subconsciously, you've got to average 14 and 10 to have a good shot of getting another job next year. But then you also know that if you don't make that extra pass or you don't set the screen and give up your own shot, then your team have got a significant chance of not winning that basketball game. So you're always constantly wrestling in your mind as well, or that your teammates, especially the import players, that they're bigger wrestles in their head. It's a lot easier for me as a British player. Who's again emotionally invested in either Plymouth or Leicester, but for guys who are going to be there for a year, and it's hard not to get mad at those guys too when they're shooting 20 shots, because you kind of know that perhaps their underlying reasons are trumping the team's reasons. So you've got all of these little dynamic things that are going on behind the scenes that it's like the elephant in the room. And it wasn't until later in my career I look back now and I wish I was a little bit more vocal or called people out earlier in my career. It wasn't until later where I was like, no, I'm not going through this again. But I just remember just in Plymouth we had such talented teams down there, but we just had a couple of guys that just had their own agendas, and they were just already. We got to January, February, and they're already playing for the next September and their next contract. So. You got lots of these little storylines and narratives, and we only ever see a little bit on the outside. There's a lot going on the inside, a lot going on. So change can have an amazing effect, but it can have a detrimental effect as well.
Any add on that, Ads?
Yeah, who's Ben Roper then, Pabs?
Oh, I don't know. He's not a fan. Let's put it that way.
Because he's got a bee in his bonnet, hasn't he?
Well, he knows the show, which is a positive, I guess. He's not a fan of the show. It puts him to sleep or whatever. But yeah,
okay.
He's got there's a vested interest there in youth basketball, and the Patriots started a youth team, and how dare they? I guess I don't know. But that seems to be the general kind of feeling across Plymouth. I don't know enough, on it to. No,
I just with the way it all happened with Plymouth, I thought that literally the new owner in the club would be the heroes of Plymouth. You know what I mean?
Well, they certainly are to the faithful guy.
Yeah, I mean, they saved pro basketball, and really it stayed pretty much the same in terms of venue, players, and all that sort of stuff. So it just goes over my head why a lot of these Patriots fans get the way they do, because from the outside looking in, it's a great club, and I for one was made up when the news came that they were going to be in the BBL.
I think what's overlooked as well a lot is, and it's overlooked when you're looking at rosters and how things have gone and players coming and going, is that the ownership, Carl, is doing his absolute best to make this financially viable and something that's going to continue for years. Not spend all your money in 2 seasons and that's it. We had to go. He's making it. It's going to last. This Patriots team, despite what you might read on Twitter from fans that were very annoyed at losing, it's not going to collapse next season. It's sustainable, and that's.
It was the end of the world yesterday for a few Plymouth fans.
Well, it wasn't good, but
I wish someone did that to Worcester. I wish someone come in there and save Worcester.
Oh, God, yeah. Right, let's. Let's go for BTR 5. I'll rattle my 5 off very quickly, and then you can add and fill. I've got Brugman, Malcolm Smith, Kipper Nichols, Durham, and Larry Austin. And the only reason I don't have Evans is because he had 7 turnovers, and Larry Austin was just the same index, less turnovers.
I can't argue with any of that, actually. I normally add 1 or 2 in, but I can't argue with anyone. The only thing ads might agree with me. Like, I'd love a shout out for Johnny's defense on Friday night. Like, even that down to that last play against Caboza, shutting him right out so you couldn't make that even attempted 3. But yeah, that 5, I'm happy with that 5.
Mr. Rosa?
Yeah, I've got a slight detour, I think, to what you've got. I've got Malcolm Smith in asterisks on the top of my page here. He was unbelievable. Ryan Brugman as well. He was excellent. So those 2 have to get in. And Al Durham, excellent. Caledonia, he was superb. 24 points in a 52-point game. It's insane.
It's mad, isn't it? Yeah.
And obviously none of them were threes, but he didn't even shoot any threes.
No,
he took it to the basket.
Was 24 points the old way.
Remarkable. The outliers I've got here, I've got Josh Sharma in the league match. He had 17 points and 12 rebounds in 20 minutes. So, like, he's a guy, again, this is what goes back to the conspiracy theory. Just put him in, slot him in. And
for 10 minutes.
He could have went against Tape, could have went against Ali Hutchins, and, maybe things would be different there. And, and Grant could have had a 20-minute rant about how his Caledonia that it has almost made the next stage, So I thought...
All right, personal. I hurt my feelings.
So I put Josh in there. I put Zach Jackson there as well.
He had a great game. Yeah.
A ball. I think Patrick William was out, and Mark Lovin, he didn't get going. He didn't have his free throw game, but Zach Jackson was certainly present. So I've added him in there as well.
Ads, my man. It's up to you then.
Okay, well, mine is as follows. I can only do it based on games that I've seen.
Oh, that's it. We're buggered.
And the fact that Mark Lovin is just in my top 5 every week, whatever he does. So my 5 is Mark Lovin, Johnny Bunyan, Tammy Fagbenley.
Oh, hello.
Sheridan Green. I can't contribute properly, Pabs. I've hardly watched anything apart from that weird London game because I've been GB'd up for the past 4 days.
So we're looking at Brugman, Smith, Durham definitely in. It's whether or not we put Kipper, Austin, Sharma or Jackson in.
I would take Sharma and Kipper.
Well, then
I'm happy with Kipper. He was solid. 19 points, solid game. Hit some big shots down the stretch as well. That fadeaway he hit in the 4th, that was huge.
And we often don't talk about Lions players in this because they're all so good, but Sharma's contribution actually both ends, defense, rebounds, offensively, and that was a big game for Josh. So,
I'll read you our 5. If I've got it wrong, correct me. Brugman, Malcolm Smith, Kipper Nichols, Sharma, and Al Durham.
Oh, fantastic.
There you are. Which leads us to that time again. Do you want to do some predictions with us, Ant? You want to throw your hat in the ring for a week, and we'll see how you get on?
Yeah, I was going to do what Ads usually does and predict them after they actually happen.
Great work. Good stuff.
He's coming for all of us, Ads. He's coming for both of us.
It's a flawless system.
Oh dear. Right. We'll rattle off through what happened last weekend. So, Grant, you're the only one who took the Glads against the Lions. That's a point for you. None of us took the Sharks, so we all lose on that one. We all took the Knicks, so we're good on that. Everybody took the Pats. Hell of an upset. Let me just check this now. Yeah, we've predicted the Surrey Lions game already, so we'll leave that as it is. But then obviously we all took the Lions over Cheshire. So if I total up, Nicholson's moved to 70 points. Grant, you're on 76 points. Ads, 67. And I'm on 73. So not a lot in it.
Even cheating doesn't help, Ant.
I think you're too honest too. You like double bluff yourself.
Yeah. I do like the ones where he says, "Well, I'd have taken Cheshire, but they lost, but I still would have taken them." Although maybe that's a tactic. Maybe he's doing that to throw us, to think he's being honest, and then he'll say, "Oh, I would have taken Bristol there," or Derby were on my list. Anyway, so we predicted the Lions to win tomorrow, which leads us to the 17th and the 19th. Yeah. So we'll rattle those off. First one up, Bristol Flyers at home, Newcastle Eagles, the visitors. I'll make a new column for Ant. There we go. Ads, my man, where are we going for this?
Bristol.
Flyers for ads. Grant, my man?
Flyers. They're at home.
They have not got many home games left, has they? Ant, where are you going with this?
Bristol as well, yeah. I think that game might come. I mean, Newcastle are slowly turning it around, aren't they? But I think that's just too big of a test for them. Too early.
Yeah, I'm not zagging on that one. I think the Flyers will take that one. Although I do think it could be. It's got the material to be a decent game, isn't it? Eagles have turned a corner of late, and they need to rack up some wins. So next up, Gladiators against a team that rents space in the Gladiators' heads, the Cheshire Phoenix, right now, as we discovered earlier on. Is that enough to make some people sway on this one? Grant, my man, I don't know if I need to ask.
We have beat them this season. We beat them in Glasgow. They have been in Glasgow.
Oh, I thought you said
them.
Yeah.
We've still got another game. We've still got another game or two against them. But yeah, we have absolutely thrashed them. They were missing about 3 players though.
Mr. Rosa?
If Larry Austin Jr. is not playing, I think I might go the other way because he didn't play last game. Hamstring too. You can't shake that one off, can you?
Is he bad with his? Is that a bad hamstring one?
It just said hamstring, so. All right, I'm going to go count. This is harder than it looks when I'm listening to you. Caledonia.
That's my man.
Caledonia.
Looks like we're going across the board. I'm going Caledonia as well.
Thought that'd be worth a zag from you, Pabs.
Yeah, but the Larry Austin news is enough. He's that player on that team. This could be a hell of a game. Sorry, Scorchers.
Larry Austin play now and they get 30 and 20.
Yeah. He easily could.
Sorry, Scorchers at home. Plymouth City Patriots, the visitors. I mean, I don't even know where to go on this one. I think I'm going to go Scorchers, Isn't that bad? I've gone against the Patriots, I think, consistently of late. Ads, my man. Scorchers or Pats?
Pats.
Well, he's got the... There you go. Grant?
He's also got the LVC pajamas as well.
Yeah.
I'm going Surrey.
Mr. Rosa.
These are both strugglers, aren't they? Both like really the worst form you can have. I think the home court advantage is going to prevail. Those Surrey Scorchers.
I'm with you on that one. Next up, still loads of games on the 17th and 19th as well. Leicester Riders at home to the Manchester Giants.
Sky game?
What's the tip-off? 7:45? Yeah, is that the Sky game, Ant?
It's a really good question, fellas. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Fair enough.
We're not back to the 24th.
Oh, right. Fair enough. Where we go with this? Let's go Ant first.
Bounce back win for Riders there.
He's going Riders.
That could be a classic though. Those ones have been brilliant, haven't they? Those two teams.
Yeah, the overtime Manchester Giants as they're becoming known. Grant, my man.
Yeah, you've got to think Leicester are going to bounce back. Matt, is your boy still injured, Dads?
Yeah.
I think that's huge for them because that extra body makes a big difference. So I'm going Leicester.
Who's that? Sorry?
Nate Robinson. Ads, my man.
Well, but based on being short on the roster and Leicester really, really just giving him nightmares, I'm going to go with Leicester. Yeah.
Crikey. I've even put Giants already.
I'm being real. Leicester, Giants just can't seem to quite do it against them, and you've got guys that rise to the occasion when they play Manchester, and guys like Pat Whelan and Aaron. You know what I mean? They want to beat him so bad. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it, Leicester.
Well, that moves us on to the 19th, the Sunday. Patriots at home to the Newcastle Eagles. I can't do the commentary on that one at the moment, which is a shame. I've told Paul already, but I can't. It's my Sunday on, and no one will swap with me. No one wants to work a Sunday, so it looks like it's going to be Nicholson on his own.
Bloody hell, Pabs! You're just adding to Nicholson's stress, aren't you?
Yeah. He's going to come out in some sort of rash.
Poor guy.
Yeah,
I'll be watching the game on mute then.
Poor old Nicholson. Right. Ads, my man. Eagles or Pats?
Tough one.
Score draw.
I'm going to go Pats.
Pats at home, of course. Grant, my man. It's not easy, is it?
No, but I remember us saying that Bristol are playing Newcastle. Newcastle are away to Bristol on the Friday, so they're going to have a full set. I guess it's how in depth I go sometimes, and this is why I'm leading the way. So I'm going to go a Newcastle win purely based on the fact they're going to have a full Saturday to see the sights of the southwest.
Be raining probably. Ant, my man. I'd be used to that when they coming down from Newcastle.
This is a huge game, because if Newcastle win that, they close the gap on Plymouth, who've got 8 wins. Newcastle got 6, so...
Yeah, it makes the bottom tasty.
Makes it more of a cup final for the Eagles, doesn't it?
I mean, Newcastle have been pretty dysfunctional all year, but they're like trying to turn the corner, and I just worry that Plymouth are running out of... They're leaking. They're leaking oil. Oh man, I think I'm going to go Newcastle. The short-term memory of that game they just played against Derby, man. They were just struggling to. I'm struggling to see how they can turn things around in such a short window. Oh, I'm going to do it, Pab. Lock me in for Newcastle, please.
Eagles, it's in. It's done. I'm going to go Pats, and I don't know why. I can't tell you why. But I just they need to win it, I guess. I can't bet against them on that one.
And it's one of these ones as well where the team are struggling that bad. All it takes is one win. One win restarts the season, takes them on. Still February. But Newcastle as well, a very up and down team. All it takes is one win.
It's a tough run, though.
And all that noise disappears roundabout with one win.
It's a real tough run, though, following that for the Pats. They've got Manchester Giants, then they got the Lions, and they got the Flyers.
They better hope they win then.
That is a tough... I mean, if the Eagles get that, there's every chance they'll leapfrog them after that. I mean, that said, the Eagles after that have got Flyers, Flyers, Riders.
There's no easy games in the BBL.
2 games against the Riders, and then they got the Lions as well. So Eagles are gonna have to win that just as much as the Pats if they want to keep in contention. It's tough to call.
There's no easy game in this league anymore.
There's not. That's what makes it exciting. London Lions at home to the Bristol Flyers. Oh, that could be a tasty affair. Bristol still best team I've seen come to pavilions, including the Lions. I thought they were phenomenal. I'm going to go Flyers on that. I'm going to zag.
Ooh.
There's a lot going on in the Lions camp right now. Whether or not it will spill out onto the court, we don't know. But that's where I'm going. Ads, my man.
Real Flyers too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What? I'm going London then.
It's the easiest zag you've ever made, isn't it?
I can't believe it.
See, Ant's thinking about this now.
I know, I'm being influenced. I want to make a decision 5 minutes before tip-off so I know who's in the lineup.
So you can see who's there, yeah.
Yeah. I really do like Bristol, though. I do like they've sort of the planets in their eyes, haven't they? And like, oh, are we legit? And they've came through. So I do like watching them play. I think they've got something about them.
Yeah.
Before that said and done, I'm going to say that.
Now you sound like you've been on this show for years now, doing that. Talk very highly of one thing, pick another.
Just trying to fit in, fellas. Just trying to fit in.
Next up, it's the old derby. It's the old bad blood game. Manchester Giants, Sheffield Sharks. Adds his favourite one on the fixtures list there. This actually is a really tough one to call. Sharks have picked up a bit of form. Giants have been struggling, need to get some wins. Ads, my man, you going Giants?
I am for this one, yeah. Yeah, I'm going Giants.
The old enemy.
Callum Jones to hit the winner.
Yeah.
Oh, how good would that be? Mr. Rowe, let's go for you next. Giants or Sharks?
This game is really hard, isn't it? This is really hard. I feel like I can get fired. I'm supposed to be an expert. This is really hard. I think I'm going to go Giants as well. I've just got to go with the old veterans, the Derricks, the Ramons. They're just going to tip them over. Yeah, Giants.
You know what you said? I was thinking I'm going to go Sharks. And then you said Ramon, and I've not talked about him this week. I've not talked about the generational great that he is, the GOAT. So I'm going Giants as well. Grant, my man, you zagging?
Oh, I really don't want to zag, but I feel like I could.
Does Pab say Ramon more times than Roxanne in the Roxanne song on your podcast?
Probably.
Have you seen his Ramon poster?
No, I have not. No.
I'll lad you. It's on. I think I posted it on Twitter. It's there. It took pride of place. The wife left it there as well. It's quite good.
It's replaced pictures of his wedding, the kids.
You're not wrong.
Anyway, I'm going to Manchester as well.
Good stuff. How many have we got left? This is the last one. We're at the end, fellas. We're finally at the end. Cheshire Phoenix at home. Leicester Riders. It doesn't get any easier to predict, does it? Bearing in mind, Larry Austin could be back for that one. We don't know. Riders or Nick? Oh, I'm going to go Nick straight away. Take the pressure off. Let's go Grant next. What are we going for?
See, I was going to do the same. I honestly think
Still there.
Cheshire at home are just incredible. Like, yeah, I'm going Cheshire. And I can't believe I'm choosing Cheshire.
Ads, my man. Riders or Knicks?
Riders.
Let's go on Riders. And the last selection will go to our guest, Mr. Ant Rowe. He's staring.
Finish things off. I'll finish my career at Leicester Riders. I'm going to Leicester Riders.
How poignant. Good. It feels like it's come full circle, doesn't it? And there we are. That's in the books. That's it for our show this week. Grant, my man, let's go to you first. Anything to say before we go? Anything to plug? Who's coming on the Gladcast?
We've got Al Durham due. I'm going to I chatted to him last week, but obviously I've had Steve's three-parter, and then I did my interviews, so I was going to put that out during the weeks, but I might wait until just before the game on Friday. Or might wait actually, because I don't think Friday games are good for me putting that out. But hey ho, but yeah, he's brilliant. What a guy! What a character! What a player as well. He's really come in and hit the league running. And thank you for joining us tonight. I've really enjoyed you being on this. This has been brilliant.
Thank you,
Mr. Masters, sir. And anything to say before we go?
Well, it's always a pleasure to spend time with the great man himself, Mr. Ant Rowe.
You speak to Pabs every week.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, whatever. Hopefully see you in MCR soon. And I feel that after the weekend, I should congratulate GB Women on qualifying for Eurobasket.
Absolutely.
Very much against the way it was looking. They were absolutely incredible this past two games. Wow.
And what a way for the two girls to go out as well. Like,
yeah.
I even, ads, it was the first time the game against Estonia just before Zoe's bedtime. I was like, oh, do we watch the girls play basketball? And she was like, yeah, let's put it on. So she sat and watched the first quarter with me before bed, and she was getting proper into it. So I was like, you know what? She likes coming to the games with me anyway, but she was like happy to sit instead of watching some crappy Disney thing.
Yeah.
She wanted to watch the girls play basketball. So that's the wee marginal gains for that as well.
No, it was a great couple of nights because they obviously went all out and they were big victories. And last night was great because there was a bit of a moment at the end where Zania, Chantal Handy, and Tammy were on the floor together, and a nice basket happened, and you're sort of watching, going, "Wow, that's the last time you'll ever see them three play for GB together," which is quite sad. Obviously, you're sort of thinking, well, they've qualified, so are they going to stick around? And Chantal said, "No, that's me." So
she wasn't going to do this window either. She said to me she wasn't going to do this window. So this was come on, give us this one.
Well, what a great career, and she spoke very highly of you, Grant. Enjoyed the conversation you guys had. I put her straight and told her what you were really like, though, of course. But no, it was just a really nice vibe at Bellevue. All the players stuck around for ages after the game, talking to all the kids and doing selfies and all that lot. It was great. It's what it's all about, isn't it?
Love it.
Great stuff. And our guest, and hopefully you'll come back again. Hopefully this doesn't put you off. Mr. Ant Rowe, have you enjoyed yourself?
I have indeed. Thank you so much, fellas. And thank you for what you guys have been doing as well throughout the years you've been doing this. I like listening to different people's point of views. I don't like to be in my own little tunnel and listen to only people in the tunnel. So I've really enjoyed just listening to your different perspectives. You don't always just naturally conform. You'll have your own thoughts, and you're like you go to hell for defending some of your points as well, which I really quite like, and it helps me sort of form my own opinions on things as well. So it's a little bit of banter thrown in there in the mix as well to keep things interesting, which is always useful when I'm in the gym sessions in the morning. So thank you, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for giving us your time. And it does drag on, this show, as you'll know listening to it. But the recording of it certainly, We should leave all of it in sometimes, but there you go. But thank you very much for giving us your time this evening, and we really would like you to come back again. It's been great.
Well, thank you. Love to.
Fellas, thank you very much for joining me. Everybody at home, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week for more of the same. Until then, take it easy. We'll speak to you soon.
Bibliothèque. Voilà mon passeport. Ah, Gérald Depardieu. Baguette. Baguette. Fou de fafa. Fou de fafa, fafa. Fou de fafa. Aïe. Fou de fafa. Fou de fafa, fafa. Fou de fafa. Aïe.
Et maintenant le voyage à la supermarché.